Hey peeps, it's your girl Daxani, and welcome to another episode of my sleep paralysis experiences, episode 2, The Old Woman. Hello? Okay, so just for timeline's sake, I'm going to do my best to remember the years that these experiences took place. So I believe the cloaked figure in episode 1 happened around in 2014, and as for the old woman in this episode, it happened in 2015. So before I dive into seeing the woman, I have to let you know what was going on with me in my life beforehand. That way we can reflect back when looking upon the meaning of why I possibly have seen her. A lot of things were happening at this time in 2015. My mom and I just moved out of the family house finally, and we ended up finding a little but nice apartment. I was really going through it, and if I'm honest, I did grow up kind of spoiled. So being that this place was smaller, I wasn't really able to bring everything I had with me from the family house. I had a lot of stuff, and unfortunately, a lot had to go into storage, or I was pressured to give stuff away. So it was an adjustment. There was a lot of change happening, and I hate change with a passion. However, it does take a while for me to accept the change before I can peacefully actually move on and even reflect back, thinking like, wow, like I was really upset about it for no reason. It's one of those moments. But on top of all of that, remember in part 1, I talked about that relationship I was in where I found out I was the side chick? Well, my dumbass was kind of still talking to that mofo. He helped me and my mom move in to this apartment and all that wonderful goodness. So I kind of thought he was trying to make up to me in some type of way, and of course telling me like that woman that's claiming that she's his fiance is just crazy. And even though like my gut feeling was telling me that he was feeding me a lot of bullshit, yeah, I was in denial. I was in denial about a lot of stuff in that relationship. But anyways, like we did come to this agreement, right? Where we would try to start the relationship over, but take it, baby steps and just see what happens, where it goes. So I'm thinking like, okay, sure, this, that sounds like a good start, when really it wasn't. I guess taking these baby steps I thought was like a step towards being something great, even though they're like in my gut, I was thinking otherwise. And don't ask me why I wanted to try this relationship again with this dude. I think I was just desperate to really fill a void. If I'm really looking back at it now, I think I was just desperate to have something to hold on to. Being that my parents' relationship didn't work, I think I was just really desperate for this relationship to work. And I was a hot mess back then, okay? So I will say, however, like later down the line, my best friend, who we went to high school together, but she lives in Chicago now, but she came out to visit and she stayed with us and everything, right? So she knew about this guy that I was seeing, and while she was helping me unpack, right? So we're still in the unpacking process, setting up my room to look nice and all that jazz. I get a message from the so-called fiance, basically begging me to believe her and to just leave him alone, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, like, I'm not even upset with her. It's because like how she came at me respectfully. She didn't want to fight me. She never once called me out of my name. She was just very, very sincere whenever she reached out to me. But I, unfortunately took his word and believed that she was crazy, that she was obsessed over him. Because why? Because he said so. And based on how her character was, I think that's when it was like starting to really hit me. Like she could have been one of the girls where it's like she wants to fight the side chick instead of her dude. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, when that happened, my best friend was like, okay, that shit, I've had enough, best friend. Like, what's his number? I'm going to call him to see what he really is about. So I gave her his number. She called him and she started off really respectfully. But of course he was like, oh, why are you coming at me sideways and stuff? So she laid it out, and then next thing you know, he hung up. I haven't heard from him since, and I'm glad I haven't. My best friend did me right, that's my bestie. I love her so much. Jaleesa, if you're listening to this, I will never forget that moment. Like, you are so amazing, and I'm so glad that I'm blessed to have you in my life. So that's probably more than I should have said to you guys, but I think I really need you guys to understand my mentality, everything, my emotions I was going through before I saw this old woman. So now I'm going through a heartbreak. I'm going through change. I am an adult child of divorce. I don't have a steady full-time job. I was working part-time for the school district, and it was nice and all because I got to do my artwork on the job. I would just have to occasionally check and supervise and all that stuff. And I mean, it was cool while it lasted, but it was part-time, like I said. So the pay was just okay if I cut back on a lot of things, which I did, but I didn't mind it so much. It didn't bother me. So now here we are about to dive into the old woman. So of course I'm sleeping and I start feeling that pressure, like something's pressing me down into the mattress again, and I'm feeling something squeezing my arms. And when I open my eyes, I see my room, but I see the old woman. She's not scary looking in any type of way. She's actually pretty gorgeous, and she has this gentle smile. I think it's kind of one of those smiles where you think it's gentle, but it looks kind of deceiving in a way. And also, she wasn't really dressed like the hooded figure I saw the first time. She was dressed quite wealthy. She had on like this silk hooded cloak on, but I could see her face. She had jewelry. It was gold. There was some diamonds, silver. She looked really wealthy. And even though I'm describing her, right, you may be thinking, oh, well, that doesn't sound scary. But let me tell you, I was terrified. And it might have been because of the pressure that I felt being pressed down into the mattress. But it was also just the fact she would come closer. Like, she's slowly moving closer to my face. And the closer she got, I was starting to call for help. I was like, help, help, help. Like, I can hear the muffledness, how I mumbled help. But the thing is, my mom's at work. I don't start my job until the evenings. It was actually early morning. Like, maybe it's probably hitting 7 a.m. The sun is shining through the window. Like, I could see the sun coming in, and there was almost this glow to her. You would think maybe it sounds a little bit angelic in a way, that glow, and she looks like a nice woman, a nice image, but my body is terrified. She's coming closer and I'm scared to death. But at the same time, I'm getting that feeling like she doesn't necessarily mean any harm. But looks can be deceiving. Just because you're wealthy doesn't mean that you're truly innocent. I'm just saying. But I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going through my head about this woman. She got close enough where it almost felt like her nose touched mine. But I was able to yell loudly enough to wake myself up, to actually wake my body up to get up. And then when I did, she wasn't there anymore. It was morning. The sun was beaming through my window. I think this is the only instance where I had this sleep paralysis experience kind of during the day. It's when I'm about to wake up, versus the other ones that I had are at nighttime. So now we're going to break this down. And the first thing we're going to look up in the Dream Dictionary on Google is an old woman, elderly person, but specifically maybe an old woman. The dream displaying elderly people omens wisdom, the power to forgive past experiences, life lessons learned. It can suggest that it is time to apply the knowledge gained and the lessons learned in the past in order to progress in your current life. And just letting you know, this is all from this website called Auntie Flo. It also says positive changes are afoot. Apply your knowledge in the daily life. Use the skills you have learned to progress. Be more adaptable in difficult situations. That right there really sticks out. And it says expect a big change in your life. If in your dream you see an elderly woman, this is the omen of richness, happiness, and goodwill. However, the dream of an elderly woman is not always a good one, as it can predict bad news for a person you care about. And thinking about that last one, nothing really happened in between that in regards to that as I'm speaking now. I think it was so much more of the positive stuff that was mentioned in this dream dictionary on Auntie Flo that has happened. And I'm going to reflect on that. It was the year after, or actually no, it was somewhere in the middle of 2015 or towards the end of 2015 where I met my other boyfriend. And let me tell you, a lot of everything I learned from that toxic ex-boyfriend helped me grow. But the shocking part is how quick I grew from that. Because the start of this new relationship, I learned to stand up for myself. I learned to speak out, to speak up more. I've learned to voice more of my opinions. And it's not so much about my ex, but I think too, I take my parents' situation of their divorce, and I think like all the stuff that they've been through, the stuff that I've seen, I don't want that to happen for me. I don't want it to happen for me and my future spouse, my future boyfriend or whatever. So everything that I saw my parents do, I'm going to do the opposite. Everything about talking about wisdom and just everything I read in this dream dictionary on Auntie Flo, it makes sense when I'm reflecting about it now. I'm not gonna lie, I learned to not tolerate any bullshit either. And I learned to pick my battles a lot, and I hate confrontation. I hate vocalizing how I feel. But I think just with these past experiences, I'm like, I can't do that to myself anymore. I have to speak up when it's necessary because I have to protect myself. I mean, I can keep going on with that, but I'm going to move on to maybe, I guess, search up wealth. So just scrolling on Google, I've come across different things. So I searched up like wealthy, rich woman, right? And this one says, to see a rich person in your dream may indicate that you will deal with trade and your rivals will try to destroy your jobs by envying you. If you see a rich woman or businesswoman in your dream, it refers to material achievements which you will get with ambition and effort. Then of course you have this one where it says, dreaming of the rich lady indicates that there will be quarrels with others recently. The person who is in love dreams of the rich lady, which indicates that you have to restrain yourself recently and not lose your temper with your lover. This does resonate with me, but honestly, it's kind of hard to explain. I think part of me is not really sure what it's saying, but at the same time it does. Like me just talking about having to have patience, and then it says quarrels and all that wonderful goodness. It sort of resonates with me, but at the same time it doesn't. So I think maybe like the first one I read, it said that you will deal with trade and your rivals will try to destroy your jobs by envying you. Like, I don't recall that ever happening. However, it says refers to material achievements which you will get with ambition and effort. I would say that slowly started to happen. I think it was just like I kind of started to treat myself a little bit more. I was hanging out with friends a little bit more because all this shit I was going through, right? And I'm only thinking of the little things, not so much as like big material achievements. I mean, it could be small ones. That's all I can really think of at the moment. But the second one where it says you have to restrain yourself and not lose your temper with your lover, that one definitely speaks out because of what I just said about I grew a lot from the last relationship. I grew a lot just from I guess my parents divorcing and just kind of taking that in as a lesson. Even though the new person I was with started off being a little insecure, surprisingly, I was really patient. I think I did better than I than I felt like maybe like the old me would. And I say that because like I think the old me probably would have been walked on, and I would have kept apologizing. I'm sorry, I wouldn't do that again or whatever. It's like, no, you are the insecure one. You get your shit together. Now the next thing I want to look up, right, which is the last and final thing, which is the color green, because I remember this old rich woman was wearing green. It says green is the color of life. It is associated with nature, health, growth, and prosperity. It represents hope for a better future, and it has become more than a color in recent years. It has become a verb. The color green is the result of blue and yellow, hence why it has traits of both colors, being relaxing but also energizing. Still, green can convey jealousy, envy, and greed. It's the color of balance and renewal, mostly associated with success. Starting off with the whole jealousy, envy, and greed, I would say not so much greed, but I think more of the jealousy and envy, right? And I think it's because back then I would compare myself to others, because I like at this moment in 2015, I felt stuck in life. I was like, 25? I was 25 years old, and I felt like I wasn't where I needed to be. I felt like I wasn't where I was supposed to be, at 25. It's not what I visualized as a kid, because as a kid, I was like, at 20 something, I'm gonna have my own place. I'm gonna buy my parents a place. I was really thinking outside the box. But I was feeling really bad, and luckily I did have a group of friends who were feeling this way as well, so we vented a lot. Now for the positive stuff, I feel like a lot of the positives did come into fruition. Before TikTok was TikTok, it was Musical.ly, right? I was verified on Musical.ly. I went on meet and greets. I went to Texas for a meet and greet, and I met some quote unquote fans back then. I don't really have that verified account now because I wanted to start fresh with my art. And with these meet and greets, and with having these high volume of followers and being verified on Musical.ly, came an opportunity I wasn't really expecting. But one of my friends who was working with some people on set, I guess they needed some influencers to help this show on Disney XD called Polaris Primetime. So my friends knew that I was, I guess, a thing on Musical.ly, and I was verified. So they're like, Danae, why don't you do this? This would be really cool for you and all that stuff. And at first I was like, no, I don't know. I don't think this is it for me. But then, I don't know, something clicked where I was like, how often is a person given an opportunity like this? And so I actually made a big decision to say yes, instead of saying no, instead of doubting myself, instead of beating myself down. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. No matter how shy I become, I'm just gonna do it. We're gonna go out there, we're gonna make friends, whatever. And honestly, it was a success in that reason. The show itself, it wasn't really all that successful. It didn't get renewed for a new season. It kind of bombed. But the opportunity was awesome. It helped me grow. It helped me out of my comfort zone. It helped me grow out of my shell. It did a lot of things for me personally, and I'm thankful for that. It's stuff like that that I'm thankful for. I don't see myself being on television again. Maybe a future voice actress, who knows, but as far as doing shows like that on Disney XD and actually being in front of the camera, I don't really see myself doing that. But it was a fun opportunity, and I don't regret it. I think that's pretty much it. That's all I can really say about this one. However, little did I know what was gonna come next. I had no idea that I was going to have another sleep paralysis moment and see something else. And little did I know I was going to be living in a different place. It was a moment where I went back into my dark abyss of my feelings and emotions. But that will be told in episode 3 of my sleep paralysis experiences. So if you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new, feel free to subscribe. Don't feel obligated to. It's just a suggestion. And once again, thank you all for listening and thanks for watching. And I shall chat with you soon in the next video. Bye!